Well, hey, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. I'm getting ready to record episode 239 of Mike in the Midwest. So let's do this. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 239 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast. You can find me at Be Our Guest Mike on the socials, but check me out in the Be Our Guest podcast clubhouse, which is our Discord server for all the great listeners of our show. Absolutely free to everybody, not just our patrons. Everybody is included. But we do have a special private Discord server for our patrons. Not really very active, but it's there if you want to use it. Check it out at beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. So come on over. But we're recording this show on Sunday, March 23rd, 2025. In case you're checking this out down the line, that's when this show is being recorded. It's a rainy Sunday morning here in mid-America, but hope you're doing well wherever the show finds you. It's the middle of March Madness, the NCAA basketball tournament, and that's why I am all decked out. If you're watching the YouTube video, if you're one of our few that is catching me here on a Sunday morning live on YouTube as I record these shows here in the studio, I'm decked out in my UIC black and gold. That's a Mizzou. Red, white, and blue for the Flames. They're not in the NCAA tournament this year, unfortunately, but they're in the NIT, the women's NIT tournament. Paige's team, my daughter's team, she's the director of basketball operations for the UIC women's basketball team. They won their first round game in the WNIT the other night, and they have advanced to round 2 today. They are traveling. They hosted the first game up in Chicago, got the victory. Moving on, they beat the UAB Dragons, and now they take on the Butler Bulldogs in Indianapolis today at 12 noon. So, at 12 noon, they're in the Eastern time zone. So I wonder if it's Central or Eastern. I got to check that out. So I better be ready at 11. Anyhow, it's probably 12 Central, I'm sure. But yeah, decked out and got to support my daughter there because that's a big deal. They're in the postseason. So excited for Paige's squad to try to get a second postseason victory today. So decked out in the quarter zip she got me for Christmas. Bright red here, like this thing. And of course, my lucky hat. Wore that on Friday. So hopefully it'll bring some magic here on Saturday or Sunday. And also got to give a shout out to my younger daughter. Mallory just got on the bus because I know this is what I think is hilarious. Of course, she's, done the cheerleading her whole life, the all-star cheer. She cheers for high school and they do really pretty well as far as the competitions in high school. But today she's leaving for a state competition, and they started their spring break. Their spring break is next week. So she's officially on spring break now, which is great for her. Pam's spring break was last week. They didn't line up. So Pam is kind of sad. Her spring break has come to an end. She goes back to school on Monday. Mallory's spring break starts, this coming week. So they just missed each other. But Pam right now is dropping Mallory off at Francis Howell at her high school because she's getting on a bus to go to state DECA competition. She made 10 people at Francis Howell made the state finals for DECA, which if you don't know what DECA is, which I didn't really know, and her mom we really don't know much about this. It's this club in high school that's business classes, I guess, business, marketing, stuff like that. And Mallory and her cheerleading flyer, they made it to state in marketing. They had a pitch and they came up with this marketing plan and they had to go in front of all these business leaders in our community. They had a big competition at a shopping mall where all these high schools came together and all these leaders in business heard all these pitches from, bunches and bunches of high schools around here. And they had to dress up, in business attire and all that stuff. And, I was like, that's good for Mallory. She'll learn, if she ever goes into business, that'd be a good experience for her. Boom. I guess she qualified for state. Who knew? So boom, she's on a bus now. She wore her cheerleading sweats, she looked like she's going off to cheer state. Exactly the same outfit she wore to cheer state. She's got her, stuff. And I don't know, but she's got her garment bag. We had to get her a blazer, the business. She looks like she's, like a little mini CEO. It's so weird. We're used to getting her, cheer bows and all that stuff, all the pom poms and stuff like that for no, she looks like she's going to run for president. It's the weirdest thing ever. And we're not going because, you don't go watch and cheer a presentation, I guess. We're like, it's in Kansas City, so which is the other side of the state. If you don't know the geography of Missouri, we're west of St. Louis. We're about 30 miles west of St. Louis. So it'd be about a 3.5 hour drive for us to go to Kansas City, which we would do that. We do that stuff for our kids. We'd watch, but she's like, Mom and Dad, parents don't watch DECA competitions. Like we go up, we give our pitch, and that's it. Like we just say our thing. There's nothing to cheer. There's nothing to, I'm like, but Mallory, like for our whole life, we've watched you cheerlead, and it's only 2.5 minutes. We'll drive to Indianapolis. We'll drive to Chicago. We'll drive to Arkansas. We've gone to Florida, 10 times to watch you cheer. And it's only 2.5 minutes a shot, and we do, but yeah, I guess so. Nobody goes and cheers. So I'm like, well, I guess just text us and tell us how it goes and take some pictures. I guess, where you're going to eat or something in between. I don't know. I guess there's nothing to see. And I know a lot of our listeners have reached out and said, you guys were in DECA and it was a great experience in high school. I never did DECA, but here's the thing. I love this because I want my kids to have opportunities that I didn't have. And I think we all want that as parents, right? Is that, Pam obviously is a teacher still. She's retiring after the school year. So she's wrapping up her career, 28 years in the elementary school system. She's retiring from teaching, but she's going to find another job after doing something after this year. Education has just kind of wore her out. She's 28 years doing, and she's been in the same school district the entire time. And she's just 28 years. She's out. She's going to find something else to do. Maybe in education, maybe not after this school year, but I think this is it for her. I did 17 years in the classroom, and when the podcast got bigger, I transitioned to travel, so that was great. But I like that she's kind of found her own thing, right? Neither one of us have any clue about business, and so we can't really give her advice on business. And she's finding her own way, which I think is super cool as a parent. Because I know a lot of kids go right into the fields that their parents went into. And that's really cool, like to carry on the family business. I mean, in a way, I hope my dad's kind of proud of me, right? Because my dad worked in radio, and it's kind of a backdoor radio thing, right? My dad, it's kind of this is not where I was going with this podcast, but this is Mike in the Midwest. It's always just me getting on here talking to you guys. Like we're all friends. We're all family here. So my grandpa was a cement mason, which meant he went out and he put in concrete driveways and basement floors and patios, anything that needed concrete, basically residential. He did some commercial stuff like curbs and, stuff like that. But he loved it. My grandpa loved being outside, loved doing concrete work. I mean, my grandpa loved it. He was in the union for 50 years and he's super proud of it. He had his union cards and his first check stub. And, he was so proud of that fact. I mean, I remember growing up at his house, he had like his first check stub displayed on the wall in his house. And when he retired, he made a little box with his trowel. Like that's a tool that a cement mason uses, like to finish, like as an artisan to finish the concrete. He got it like plated, like shiny plated, and hung it on the wall with his first check stub. And it was really cool looking. He was super proud of when he retired after 50 years of working as a cement mason. And it was really neat looking with like a little cement truck. He got like a matchbox truck. My grandpa was super creative. And anyway, but my dad went right into that same field. My dad was a cement mason, just like my grandpa. Went into the union, did it for, like 20 some years, but my dad hated it. I know my dad didn't like it, but I mean, it paid well and it was able to support our family. It was a good way to raise a family, but it's a hard living. It's hard on your body. You're out in the weather, you're out in the heat, the cold, and it breaks your back. I mean, messing with concrete work is not easy. It's super, super hard. And so I think my dad, when he got, halfway through life, right, he decided, do I want to do this for the rest of my life? I think that's what we all get to be doing. I think that's what I did, after 17 years. I think I'm so much more like my dad than I realized. And I think if you stop and think about it, you are. My dad was always a musician. He always played drums from the time he was a kid. He was in bands and stuff like that. Then he became a DJ, mobile DJ for a company, started doing wedding receptions, and he started his own mobile DJ company. Then he went to a place called Broadcast Center in St. Louis and learned how to work in radio. And he couldn't get on the air, but he did promotions. He went out for radio stations. He got a part-time job with one of the radio stations and did promotions. So when they did, when they went to the car dealership, on Saturday mornings to do, the radio guy would go out there, he would set up the sound systems. He did all that stuff just to get his foot in the door. And then eventually he did get on the air, and then he became a program director at a radio station. So he's been the Rams radio engineer for 20 some years at this point. So he has been on the air. He was the radio DJ at the oldie station forever. And now, like, I always kind of wanted to be the radio guy too as a little kid. Like, I used to record myself, into the I had that little tape player that it was kind of rectangular. It didn't even have a radio on it. It just had like a cassette and a big like speaker. And I'll try to find a picture of it and put it on the Discord. But I would record myself talking like a DJ when I was like 7 or 8. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So I always wanted to pretend like, I was Casey Kasem or something like that. And, doing this podcast, it's almost like, I came into radio. I mean, this microphone right here is the microphone my dad used to use in his studio at his condo, because at one point about 15 years ago, my dad was DJing like 7 or 8 different radio stations in Kentucky and Georgia and Tennessee remotely from here in St. Charles. It's called voice tracking. And this is kind of what the industry does nowadays. He would record all of the talking in the afternoons, and he did the shift from midnight to 6 a.m. He would record all the breaks in the afternoon, and that would play in between the songs during the night. And he would just guess the weather. He would look at the forecast online and just say, it's 42 degrees and partly cloudy here at half past the hour. And he would be real general and just hope that the weather didn't change that crazy. And he would just keep everything real general, here in Ashland, Kentucky, because he did a radio station in Ashland, Kentucky, where my grandparents grew up. So I'm kind of, again, getting back to Mallory, it's weird because I'm kind of doing what my dad did, even though I didn't intentionally mean to do that. But my dad worked in radio, and I love this. Like, this is, if I could have out of high school worked in radio, I would have loved to have done this. Like, but the thing is, in 1992, when I graduated high school, radio was so different. Like, the opportunities to do something like this were so different than what they are in 2025. Right now, anybody can get out there. If you have a creative idea, you can create a podcast and you can reach an audience worldwide. That was not available when I graduated high school. But I think we struck when the iron was hot in 2008 with our podcast. We got to get out there and talk to people and find that passionate fan base with our podcast. We got to talk to other Disney fans. People found us. The iPod was out there. The iPhone was just catching on. We had Magical Mouse Radio that kind of expanded our reach a little bit more. And it was really cool. So yeah, I would have liked to have done this, but teaching was a good, safe bet, right? Construction work was my dad's good, safe bet. It was a solid income to raise a family. Teaching was a good, safe income to raise a family for me. And I loved it. I had a passion for it. I love teaching kids. I'd still love to do it. I love leading. I like that leadership, coaching, seeing people develop. I love being in somebody's corner to see them become better than they thought they could be. I miss that more than anything. The one thing I hate about my job that I have now, and I don't hate really anything, but the thing I do miss is that I'm isolated working from home. There's a ton of advantages to working from home. Don't get me wrong. I like that I get to work from home. I get to go upstairs, have my turkey sandwich, and just watch my iPad. And that's awesome. Don't get me wrong. But I miss the relationships that I have with students and seeing them from August to May become greater than they thought they could be. And then seeing them come back as, I had them as 6th graders, seeing them come back as high school kids and like, wow, you have become such awesome young women and such awesome young men. I'm so proud of you. Now still with social media, I see some of my students that I had as sixth graders that have kids now and that are CEOs or that are professional athletes or, just moms and dads that are just awesome people, that are just great citizens, that are in the military. I mean, every time I see that, my heart just explodes. I'm so proud of that. So I miss that I don't have that going on anymore. I'm proud for the kids that I had that have, that have gone on to do that. But I wish that circle was going. And like I have, Dave Gentili was a fifth grade teacher across the hall from me. He's still teaching. And I'm so, proud that he is still teaching because he was a great teacher when I taught with him, one of the best. And he still is. And he teaches in the district out here where I live. And, every time I see the projects he's doing, those kids are still lucky to have him. He's still teaching almost 30 years later. And he did a Super Mario Day for his students just this past, I guess what's that, Super Mario Day. So what's that, 310, I guess, or I don't know, whatever it is on the calendar in March. But him and his co-teachers, decorated the whole hall to look like Super Mario World with like question mark blocks, and the whole day they did hands-on activities. You got to embrace those teachers, but I miss being on a team like that and having those kids come in with like their eyes wide open, like, oh my gosh, we're going to learn, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. I miss that kind of stuff. But that's just, I think that whatever you do, if you're in business, and this is what I'm glad, getting back to Mallory and going to this DECA thing, I don't want her to have to think that she has to be like Pam or like myself, that she has to be a teacher. I like teaching, but teaching has changed a lot. I don't want her to ever think she has to be a teacher because Pam and I are teachers. I don't know if I want her to be a teacher. I want her to find her own path. And it's, it's kind of like Paige, right? And this is kind of becoming parenting talk with Mike, but Paige has a degree in biochemistry from Mizzou. She's got a degree in biochemistry. She's got a STEM degree, and she's super, super smart and could go use that degree however she wants. She's got a degree from a really good school in a STEM degree, and she's using it but she's working in sports, and she's got a dream job that I would love to have, right? She's leading a sports athletic department. I love that. Think about Mike Rallman. I'm always wearing my sports gear. I love being involved in athletics. Like, she's living the job that I would love to live. And I'm so happy for her. And I don't ever tell her, man, you should use that biochemistry degree. I tell her, live the dream. If that's what's making you happy, man, chase it forever. Like, keep that biochemistry degree on a shelf. If you ever need it, use it. But if you never use it, if you're happy, be happy. I'm glad you have that degree and you're smart, and you can use it whenever you want. Like, it's a safety valve because it's there. And you could change the world with it, maybe 10 years down the line. Maybe you never use it. But she's got it. But it's weird how the world works, though, right? When she went to Mizzou, got a biochemistry degree, I thought, she's going to work in a science lab. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. She's going to go into some medical field. She's leading a basketball team, but she's thriving. And that's what's important. Anyway, I don't know where I was going there, but there's the opening salvo. So there you go. How are you doing? Let me know how you're doing. I care. Just patreon.com/BRGuestPodcast. If I'm talking too much about this stuff, I just like to talk to you guys and see what you're thinking. That's what's on my mind right now. But, kids, I think you just want them to soar, right? And I'm super proud of my kids. Paige has her team doing well. Mallory's going off to state. Super proud of them. That's what you got to do. All right. So a couple of things I want to talk about. So this week, on top of the happy, right? You got it. There's the yin and the yang. I just want to send a shout out to Mike. He's one of our good friends that we hang out with over in Discord. Man, I've been thinking about him so much over the past few days. His wife passed away from cancer this past week. I've been praying for him because I am a praying person. I'm a person of faith, and been thinking about him a lot. And just if you are, please keep him in your thoughts and prayers, because he's a good man, and he's always hanging out with us in the Discord, and that just has to be really hard. Aaron was full of life, and anybody that's a part of our family here, just lift him up and take care of him. It's hit me really hard. So just please, I've been thinking about that a lot. So I just wanted to say that. So just keep Mike. I just want to mention that here, because it's kind of a smaller group here. So keep him over on the Discord. You'll see him. Just take care of him if you could, please, because we take care of each other here. That's what we do. All right, so let's talk about the feedback from last week's show. I gave a few toys that from my childhood that I was thinking of that I wish I could go back and maybe play with one more time because they were fun and maybe they don't make them like they used to. And Trisha, by the way, who is, I believe, down in Louisiana by now because she had that, wasn't the duck, the Darth Vader duck. I think, what is it? Harry Potter duck? I've been super busy this weekend, but I've been trying to follow along in the Discord. I know it's another duck, and I know it's not Darth Duck or whatever. It's a Harry Potter duck, I believe, and they stayed in Jackson, Mississippi. I'm trying to keep up, but I'm here and there. I'm really scatterbrained this weekend because all the basketball and everything. But Trisha says, I had the traditional girl toys as a kid. My favorite was the American Girl doll. I had Molly in the first generation of the Looks Like Me doll. I kept everything and was able to share it with my daughter when she got old enough to play with them. I also enjoyed my Fisher Price kitchen sets. I would cook for hours. Perhaps that's why I became a dietitian. Two things I absolutely hated were the game's perfection and operation. Those caused me so much anxiety to this day. That timer sound still haunts me. Okay, we got to start with the end first. Perfection, that game was made by evil people. Seriously, okay, if you don't know perfection, is it perfection? I think it's perfection or concentration. But anyway, it's the game with all the shapes, right? And you twist the thing to start it, and you got to put all the shapes in the right places, but it buzzes the whole time until the timer counts down. And then if you don't get them all in, it goes and it shoots them all up right in your face. I mean, that game for real. What kind of terrible person developed that game for kids and adults? It doesn't matter. Like, it's a masochist. Like, it's brutal. I mean, that is like somebody who is just pure evil. And like, they sold millions of those in the kids aisle at Toys R Us. It's ridiculous. That game is just, I mean, I guess maybe like in the 70s we didn't have anxiety, but it's for real. That is I swear, like, that game stresses me out. That's in Operation, same thing. Now, Operation, maybe it was a secret way to kind of see who's got the shakes and who doesn't, to see who could become like a surgeon someday, because I remember playing that as a kid. Like, there was just like, you either had it or you didn't, because some people could go in and just pick out the funny bone, no problem. And some people just okay. So like, that person is not going to become a not going to become a vet. They're not going to become a surgeon. Just keep them out of any kind of medical field. Like, that person can become a coach. That person become a librarian. That person can become a podcaster, but don't give them a scalpel. Maybe that was the backdoor plan with Operation. I don't know. But like, some people go, no problem. And it's like, every time they went in after the femur. It was crazy. But back to the American Girl doll. So Paige had these things. And oh my gosh, I remember, because Pam always wanted Paige to have the new American Girl doll every year. And I think, okay, so this is what, again, I was kind of secondary on this. I believe they announce the new American Girl doll every year right around Christmas, because I remember we were usually down at Walt Disney World on our Christmas vacation. If I got this right, because we'd usually go that week between Christmas and New Year's when we were back both teaching. And I think they would always make an announcement as to who the new American Girl doll for the next year was going to be, whether like her name. And I think they had backstories. I think they had a book. Maybe I'm getting this mixed up, but I think they did. And so like, there would be a whole big deal with it. And then you'd have to order it or something. And, Pam would be like, okay, here's the new American Girl doll. We got to get this for Paige. But Paige did also get the same one that was the one that looked just like her, because Paige, it had little freckles like Paige. And, we still have it. Exactly. It looks just like her. So Paige, has one. And I think Mallory has one that looks like her too. And then I remember the one day, because we eventually got an American Girl doll store in St. Louis. And I think it was Mallory when she was real little. We had to do the whole lunch thing. We went to like American Girl doll cafe. And so we went to the little luncheon place, and the doll even had a little booster seat at the counter. We had like cupcakes, and it cost way too much. It was like being at Disney, but I was in Chesterfield, Missouri. It was a trip. It was like cake bake shop, but here. Great memory, Trisha. Love it. And Dennis has some feedback. The last episode of Mike in the Midwest was a healthy dose of nostalgia. One of the things that I loved about the Commodore 64 is that we, quote, acquired games from our friends, if you know what I mean. Frequently, that meant that we had no instruction manual. Therefore, it was up to us to figure out how to play the games, as there was no built-in tutorial. The discovery element was something I grew to miss in games as time went on. Yeah, we downloaded them. Yes. And I ran a BBS, so I was the main culprit of that, because people would upload to my BBS and people would call and download. Yeah, it was a time. And you're right. I mean, it was you always play these games without manuals. You just, and the thing is, you'd figure them out, but then you would. So my BBS, called the Far Side, we had message boards, and so again, this was pre-internet. So on the message boards, people would post like hints and tips and hints as to how to solve Raid Over Moscow, or impossible mission, or whatever, to get past a level. I mean, that was just like what we talked about on there. But again, we were 12, so that's what we did. The RC cars were also so much fun. Yes, the battery would only last about 10 to 15 minutes, but it gave us time to do other crazy stuff while we recharge it. Yes, and we'd always build the track, because we always had this little dirt track, build jumps and put sticks in. And exactly right. Another thing that I remember fondly from that time was model rockets. My dad, brother, and I would build rockets from kits picked up at the hobby store. These kits were constructed from cardboard, balsa wood, and plastic. We'd spend a couple of days putting them together and painting them. Then on the weekend, if it wasn't windy, we'd go to launch them at Bluebird Park in Ellisville. Until the rocket launched, you never knew whether you got the fins glued on right and the rocket properly balanced. I love that. Oh my gosh. So we didn't build them quite that exact. Dennis and Bluebird Park. I'm trying to remember where that is. Ellisville. I played baseball a lot in Ellisville, but not Bluebird Park. It sounds familiar. Ellisville. I don't know. That sounds super familiar. I don't know the park though. Anyway, so I taught like a lot of gifted summer class. I mean, obviously I taught gifted for years, but I also taught a lot of gifted summer programs. And one of the programs I taught was rocket building, but we use those Estes rocket kits. So you didn't have to do quite as much. Like you didn't have to do gluing and stuff. Basically, it just came in a bunch of pieces and you just kind of put them all together. They'd all just kind of snap together. And then you bought those they look like bullets. They were the little engines that you would put in. And then you had the little triggers that you put the batteries in. They had the launching pads. God, those were fun. My buddy and I, again, Dave, that I talked about just a minute ago, was a great teacher. We co-taught for one summer this rocket camp that was at the Gifted Center, and across the street was the Civic Center in Florissant. And there's a big field across the way where we shot these off. Man, we must have shot off 300-400 rockets that summer with kids, because we had a budget for all these rocket engines and kits we could buy, because it was like funded through the government or something. We spent it all. And God, we had so much fun, because we had a pretty good budget. So we're like, dude, Dave, let's buy a couple like really big kits. And I mean, we bought this one rocket. I swear, I was like, this thing might go to space. I was like, let's do this one at the beginning, so we had like small classes that would rotate through. So like they go through, we had like 7 or 8 classes. So they'd come through our class and they go like to a cooking class, and they go to I don't know, there were like 6 other classes, but they all wanted to go to our class, right? They're always super excited when they got to come to Dave and Mike, or Mr. Rahman and Mr. Gentile, for like rockets. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in the rocket class? I mean, we're going to shoot stuff. I mean, right. I mean, it's way better than cooking. So, but I was like, but what we did the first day to like get them all jazzed, dude, we had this rocket. It was like October Sky. If you know the movie, like with Homer Hickam, we had this one rocket that we built. I swear it was like 2.5 feet tall. We're shooting off rockets. Well, the kids all thought they were going to get a rocket that was like this thing. I mean, it was huge. And I told Dave, I was like, dude, when we shoot this thing off, we got to make sure this thing doesn't go towards the kids, towards our school, towards the Civic Center. And there's a road right there towards any cars that are passing, especially a cop car. I'm like, this thing is like a missile. We hit that thing. It was like, smoke. And that we never did find it. I mean, it was because it's supposed to have parachute down, and it went. And we never did find it. I mean, it probably landed on somebody's house. Who knows? But it was awesome. the kind of stuff we did in the early 2000s. And we're not that far away from Lambert Airport, this international airport. I mean, we were probably 3 or 4 miles from the airport. I mean, I guarantee you that thing got picked up by radar. I guarantee you, because the kids were like, oh, and we were all like, because it just like kind of disappeared. It was amazing. So Dennis, thanks for the great. That's why I love this show. Thanks for the great memory, Mike in the Midwest here. Okay, sadder note, we got to talk about today's topic. And maybe you have a memory like this. I hope you don't. How many times have you scrolled through Facebook, which I try not to go on Facebook too much. I post to Facebook through Instagram a lot of times, but I don't go on Facebook very much. And this is why I went on Facebook, because I was bored. I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. And I saw this post and it just, hit me in the gut. I mean, just hit me in the gut. A bunch of pictures for sale. You know what it was? My childhood baseball field is for sale. Now, if you grew up in St. Louis, Dennis might know. I mean, I grew up playing baseball all the time. Baseball was my sport, and I grew up playing. I mean, I played baseball. At one point, I played on 3 teams at one time, like when I was like 10 to 12. I was on 3 different teams in the summer. And I mean, that's all I played was baseball. And if I wasn't playing baseball, when I got to be like 13, I umpired every single night. I umpired all the time. And the place I played was in my town of Florissant, where I grew up. It was a place called Weehop Baseball Fields. And the complex had 11 fields divided in half. There were 6 on one side, 5 on the other. Weehop Baseball Fields. And I saw this post that the fields have been sold to a developer for $1. The whole land, it is going to be developed, and it's closed. It's gone forever. I don't know what they're doing with the land, but it's not going to be baseball fields anymore. And it just hit me in the gut because my dad played on those fields, and I played on every one of those fields. I umpired on every one of those fields. I have a memory. I literally have a memory of a certain something happening on each one of those diamonds. All 11 of the diamonds. And you might say that's a weird number, 11. Why aren't there 12? If there's 2 halves, why aren't there 12? And I can tell you why. It's the intricacies of Weehop Baseball Fields. So let me just tell you about my little field of dreams, my little complex, because maybe you have a little league complex. And I don't know if you're of my generation. Maybe you remember the movie Bad News Bears, but picture like the complex where Bad News Bears took place, right? That was Weehop Baseball Fields to me. That's where we all gathered, all the gang. We'd ride our bikes up there in the summer. During the day, we'd play stickball there. We would, have impromptu games there on one of the diamonds, whichever one they weren't chalking for that night's game. We'd play there until they ran us off. Like, get out of here. We got to chalk the field for the 6:15. And we'd play there. Then we just go to the other side and play until they chalk that field. And then, they'd chase us. But, and it was right in the middle of a neighborhood, but it was a good sized piece of land. And next to it was an elementary school called Coldwater Elementary, which is where I got my very first job in education as a teacher assistant. So I taught right next to it. My very first job in education was right next door. But like, you just, as a little kid, you started so you went Adam, like the way the age groups went for Corey League, which was what we went. It wasn't Little League. I played Corey League, which was kind of the same thing. It was Atom Ball, Batum Ball, Midget, and then that's just the names of the age groups. And then you went into juniors and so forth and up. And like, you went from like the furthest away from the snack bar, and then like Diamond 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and 1. When you got up to Diamond 1, that was like the high school kids. Diamond 12 was like the little bitty kids that were, like 5. And so you were way far away as a little kid. And when you were a stud, you made it up to Diamond 1. Diamond 1 was the nicest field. Obviously had the pitching mound, the raised mound, the 60-foot 6-inch mound. So did Diamond 3. Diamond 3 and Diamond 1 were the full-size major league distance fields. And so they had, that's where you wanted to play. Now, the one side of the complex had lights. So diamonds 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 had lights. So if you were on that side, you could have a night game. The other side, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, no lights until later on. They towards the end they did. But on that side, you only had to play 6:15 games, and then it got dark. So you couldn't play night games on the one side. But on the other side, you had 6:15 and 8:30 games. So you were big time if you got to play on the one side. Down the middle was a big snack bar. Now, the famous thing that they sold at the snack bar at Weehop Baseball Fields was the Pepper Belly. And I must have eaten 1,000 Pepper Bellies at Weehop. Now, the Pepper Belly, if you don't know, was a bowl that they put Fritos on the bottom. They took a bag of Fritos, boom. They covered it with chili, boom. Chili on top of the Fritos, and then put cheese, nacho cheese on top. Oh my gosh, that was the Pepper Belly. That was my dinner almost every night when I was umpiring or if I had a game. I'd get a Pepper Belly. And the other thing that I always have in my Pepper Belly at Weehop, they had the rectangle pizza like you would get at school, but it was wrapped in silver foil. I don't know what it was about the silver foil, but it made it taste better. And it was super cheap. That's what you get there. But you'd also get baseball cards. They had Big League Chew. They had Gator gum and all the, sunflower seeds and all that stuff. I mean, it was heaven. And you would just go up there and just hang out with your friends. You'd park your bike by the tree. There was a tree right by the snack bar, and you would stay there. There was also an outbuilding that was the umpire shack. And that's where you would go. And if you wanted to umpire, you would go up there. The game started at 6:15. So you go up at about 5:15. And if you weren't on the schedule, you could hang out there. And if one of the umpires didn't show up, you could cover for them and get a game. That's what I did every night. And I always got a game, but I was usually on the schedule if I wasn't playing a game that night. And I don't know if you know this, but Ron Kulpa, he's been a major league umpire for years and years and years. He umpired and was the umpire coordinator at Weehop Baseball Fields for years. Eventually, there was right next to the snack bar batting cages, which my grandpa and my dad built just because they loved the place and they knew that I needed a place to bat. So they built batting cages right there in the middle of Weehop Baseball Fields for our team and every team, all the kids to use. So that was there and is still there today and is going away. But it's one of those things that, I could tell you about the time my team, the one year we were called the Tigers, won the title on Diamond 4, on the one side right next to the umpire shack, and the big hit that came in the 7th inning against the Lions or whatever. But I just wanted to kind of get that memory out there that, this is going to go away. They're selling everything on the Post. Like the Post had a bunch of pictures. It's got the light standards. It's got the pretzel machine. It's got the backstops, the soccer, because they played soccer in the fall, the soccer goals, stuff like that. Come make a best offer. I don't need any of this stuff. Like, if I bought any of this stuff, Pam would kill me. I do kind of want to go up there and like steal a sign, like, the diamond number sign off like one of the backstops or something, just because I'd like to have it, but Pam would kill me there too. But it is one of those things, right? I mean, time marches on. I don't live in Florissant anymore. Florissant is really gone downhill. It's like, that's why we moved. I mean, we moved out of there because Florissant isn't what it used to be. And everybody who on Facebook is like, I can't believe Weehop's going away. I grew up there. I played there. There's so many of us. When I saw the comments, it was all the people I used to play ball with and against and umpired with. It was like a reunion of all of us ball players. But you know what? None of us live in Florissant anymore. And it just shows that times change. But it was just a gut punch. And it makes me sad. It's like the movie The Sandlot. It's almost like our Sandlot is going to get paved over or something. I'm sure they're going to put a house, or I don't know what they're going to put in there, probably storage units or something. Who knows? It's what they put everywhere, a liquor store or something. But it's sad. So I think maybe I'll drive by one more time and just take some pictures and, just remember the good times. So that's where I am. I feel the dreams going away. It's really sad. Maybe I'll go up and try to have a catch one last time, but we'll see. So has that happened to you? Let me know, and we'll talk about it next Sunday. So until we talk again, hope you have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.